Henry the Hedgehog and the Miracle of the Fish and Bread. Once upon a time, in a quiet woodland nestled beside a sparkling stream, lived a little hedgehog named Henry. Henry was a curious hedgehog with a heart full of wonder and a nose for adventure. He loved exploring the forest, meeting new friends, and hearing stories from the wise old animals who lived nearby. One sunny afternoon, Henry noticed a gathering of animals under the great oak tree. They were all sitting in a circle, listening intently to the old turtle named Grandpa Toby, known for his wisdom and knowledge of wonderful tales. Henry's eyes lit up. He loved story time with Grandpa Toby. As he hurried over, Grandpa Toby smiled and nodded at him. "Welcome, Henry. You're just in time for today's story. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about a miracle." Henry's little ears perked up. "What's a miracle?" he asked. Grandpa Toby chuckled. "A miracle, my boy, is something extraordinary, something only God can do. Today's story is about how God took 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread and made enough food to feed thousands of people." Henry's eyes widened. How is that possible? 2 fish and 5 loaves could hardly feed all of us here, let alone thousands of people. "Well, let's start from the beginning," Grandpa Toby said, his voice gentle and wise. The story of the miracle. Long ago, Grandpa Toby began, there was a man named Jesus. He traveled from town to town, teaching people about God and performing miracles. One day, a large crowd followed him to a hillside. They had come from all over to listen to his words and see his miracles. But as the day went on, they grew hungry, and there wasn't any food for them to eat. Henry's tiny nose twitched. He remembered times when he was hungry during his forest adventures and how it felt. He couldn't imagine how hungry thousands of people must have been. Then, Grandpa Toby continued, a little boy in the crowd offered his lunch, 2 small fish and 5 loaves of bread. He didn't have much, but he wanted to share it. Henry gasped. "But how could that be enough for everyone, Grandpa Toby?" "That's where the miracle comes in," Grandpa Toby said, his eyes twinkling. Jesus took the boy's lunch, held it up to the sky, and thanked God for it. Then he began to break the bread and fish into pieces, and something amazing happened. No matter how much he broke off, there was always more. The food just kept coming until every single person was full. Henry's mouth dropped open in amazement. "So, everyone got to eat?" "Yes," Grandpa Toby replied. "Every single one of them. And when everyone had eaten, there was even more left over than what they started with. That's how powerful God's love is. He can take something small and make it more than enough." Henry's reflection. Henry sat quietly, thinking about the story. It was hard to imagine such a thing happening, but he could feel a warm, happy feeling in his heart. "That was an amazing story, Grandpa Toby. But what does it mean for someone like me?" "Good question, Henry," Grandpa Toby said, nodding. "This story teaches us that God can take even the smallest things we have to offer and use them to do something incredible. Sometimes we might feel small or think we don't have much to give, but God can use what we have to make a big difference." Henry looked down at his little paws. "So, even if I'm just a small hedgehog, I can still do big things?" "Exactly," Grandpa Toby replied. "It doesn't matter how small you are or how little you think you have. God can use anyone to bring kindness and love to the world. Henry's heart swelled with excitement. He thought of all the small ways he could help his friends, sharing his acorns with the squirrels, helping the little birds find water on hot days, or even just being there to listen to his friends when they needed someone to talk to. Henry's big idea. The next day, Henry decided he would try to share what he had with his friends. He gathered a few berries, some nuts, and a bit of honey he had found. He placed them all on a big leaf and called his forest friends over. "I know it's not much," he said shyly, "but I wanted to share what I have with all of you." The animals gathered around, and to Henry's surprise, everyone took a small piece and thanked him warmly. Even though it was a small snack, they all enjoyed it together, and it brought smiles to everyone's faces. Afterward, Henry felt a warmth inside, the same feeling he had when listening to Grandpa Toby's story. He realized that sharing what he had, even if it was just a little, made a big difference. A lesson to remember. That evening, Henry curled up in his cozy den and whispered a little prayer, thanking God for his friends and for the chance to share with them. "I may be small," he said softly, "but with your help, I know I can do big things." As he drifted off to sleep, Henry imagined Jesus on the hillside, sharing the fish and bread, and he felt a connection to that story, knowing that, just like the little boy who shared his lunch, he too could be a part of something wonderful. The end, good night, little dreamers. We'll see you on our next adventure together.